When the Taliban took over my village, they destroyed everything. They took innocent children from their parents, kids who had dreams to become doctors and engineers, and taught them to use guns instead of pens. Taliban banned girls' education. They bombed hundreds of schools. They told every girl's parent to stop their girl from getting an education or their whole family would be killed. Many innocent girls had their life destroyed by getting married forcefully. My friends and I thought our dreams would be destroyed. We were very close with the woman who had been our Islamic studies teacher before the Taliban shut down our school. When we told her that we did not want to give up on our education, she started a secret school at her mud house. We text message each other secretly in Punjabi because the Taliban did not understand that language. We went to school 2 or 3 days a week. Friday was the best day because almost every man and boy was busy praying in the mosque that day. Instead of our school uniforms, we wore long burqas, covering our whole body and showing only our eyes. We held the Quran close to our chest instead of carrying school's books. Whenever I passed by a boy or a man in the street, my heart beat 10 times faster, my forehead started sweating, and my throat dried up. What if he's a spy for the Taliban? What would happen to my family? What would happen to my friends? What would they do to me? We would spread a cloth on the cold mud floor before sitting down. There were only 2 books for each subject, which we would share among 6 girls. We would keep our voices very low. The Taliban were strong, but we were stronger. They were smart, but we were smarter. They were ignorant, and we had the power of a pen. The power of education, which no one would ever be able to take away from us.
My dad was a carpenter. On the back of the building we lived in, he had a garage made of patches of metal, some completely oxidized. The building was secured with a big cowbell with a padlock inside it. When I was about 6, I entered his man cave. Inside, curled wood shavings covered the floor like the confetti after you break a piñata. It had tables with sharp edges, circular saws, and machines for polishing wood with a piece of hard sandpaper. The smell of dead trees, metal, glue weakened me. His denim jeans didn't look like denim anymore. They were smeared with car oil and had sawdust glue all over them. His hands were covered in layers of dry glue. His fingers smashed from the hammer. A couple of purple nails turning black. His white t-shirt had holes in it and was too small for him, yet he smiled affably when he saw me. I asked him if I could help and make beautiful objects like my daddy. And he chuckled and said, "All right, come here, Chichi. I got something for you." My father had made me a tiny hammer. One of the first objects I made was a wooden hand mirror with my name carved on the handle. The measurements were misshapen, and the mirror inside the frame was asymmetrical and distorted. It showed a sad face standing behind me as I observed my innocent lips beam. "What's wrong, Daddy?" I asked. "Nothing, Chichi. Don't worry about it. You'll understand one day when you grow up and have your own family." He picked me up from the ground. Even though I was young, I understood. Yes, I was happy, and so was he. But the fact that he couldn't get me a cute pink mirror like the ones in the store showcase made him sad. Yet I had a mirror my dad made just for me, and no other little girl has such a precious thing.
I still remember everything about the Shepherd Square housing projects where I used to live when I was 9 or so. Like the giant silver boxing glove statue center in the heart of the community in memory of the greatest of all time, Muhammad Ali. Or the community center where me and my twin brother went for lunch and snacks when there was no food in the refrigerator. I remember long spring nights, lights hanging from people's doors and everyone smiling. We lived in a 2-bedroom apartment with 8 people. The place was immaculately clean. Sometimes when I walked in, I immediately felt the urge to cough because of the pine saw smell my mother aggressively mopped onto the floor. Those were the happy days when my family was together. I remember sitting down with my family at dinner time once in particular. My mother had filled our plates with taco salad, my favorite, and that night we watched High School Musical 2, which I've been waiting forever to see. The sun was falling as the opening credits began. We munched on tomatoes and seasoned ground beef, and we were all bundled up. By the time Gabriella got to her second song, my brother was asleep. Troy was singing his head off when my sister walked out of the room. In the movie, it was just me and my mama, which is just how I like it. We never had alone time. I was up against her with the pillow in her lap. We laughed at the jokes and cried at the sadness. At the end, when everything worked out and the couple had had their heartwarming kiss, my mama hugged me and kissed me on my forehead, and we fell asleep there on the couch, just like that. That's when my mother was at her healthiest point in life. She was stable, had money coming in, and we were happy. My mom was huggable. Her eyes were as bright as my polished mahogany. She had a huge smile like me and a big laugh, as loud as the sun, you couldn't miss it. You know that laugh where you look deep in a person's mouth and you see darkness going on for ages? That's how big her laugh was. An unnecessarily loud ghetto laugh. That kind you dread hearing at a high school graduation. Well, now I begged for it.
In 2014, the Kenyan government executed Operation Usalama Watch. Their plan was to relocate all Somali refugees in Nairobi to the Kakuma and Dadaab refugee camps, violating their human rights. We Somalis had always been labeled terrorists and were made the scapegoats for a series of diabolic attacks. We were going to be swept out of a land that for years had carried imprints of our souls. Hardly had the announcement been made when thousands of government security forces deployed in our neighborhood. We had the thuds of their boots stomping down the streets, a warning thunder of a coming storm. A green wave with rigid eyes arrived and began arresting the people like they were picking apples from a tree. Students, children, the elderly, and even parents who had children at home waiting to be fed. They raided homes, they tore up people's IDs and took them to Kasarani Stadium to wait for days for the bus that would take them to the crowded refugee camps where diseases spread like mighty flocks of sheep. Refugees were advised to stay inside their homes until the situation settled down. Day after day, we will huddle around the televisions, eyes almost turning square, hoping for an announcement that will halt the destruction, hoping that the light at the end of the tunnel wouldn't be an oncoming train. The television displayed the ways our people suffered. Elders cried, parents worried for their children, and people lost their jobs. Through a small hole in our gate, I saw a truck full of soldiers. Their expressions had. I ran and told my family what I had just seen. They nodded as though they already knew. I saw faint shades of them march past our house. Their murmurs lingered in my ear like the smoke of a blown-out candle. Everybody released a breath they seemed to be holding onto. I grew a tree of worry, its branches twisted with a 5-letter word: panic.
When people hear that my family is from the Wyandotte neighborhood, they say things like, "Really? You live there?" in disbelief. Living in a place that's viewed so negatively often makes me feel embarrassed to talk about my neighborhood. I'm always reminded to stay out of trouble, like that's all our community holds. I feel like I have to reassure them that my neighborhood isn't so bad, something I wish I didn't have to do. But I don't blame them. We all resort to the news to know what's going on, and Wyandotte finds itself in the news for crime more often than any positive reasons. So there's a stigma that Wyandotte is filled with nothing but crime and drugs, but that's only if you depend on the news for information before your neighbors. I choose to interact with people, which is maybe why I see things in my neighborhood that others don't. I've seen the same mailman nearly every day since I was 9 years old. He works on the hottest and coldest days of the year. He rarely misses a shift, so I know he's hardworking and dedicated. The lady who works the night shift at McDonald's lives a few streets down from me, and when she takes her kids to the park on weekends to get out of the house for a while, I know she is a hardworking mother who provides for her family and works to give them a good childhood. When I go to the dollar store, I see the same kind workers and I have grown up communicating with. I often wonder about them and who they are and what their personalities are like outside of the workplace, but I know they are genuine people that are here to help. And there's a group of older men who have created a baseball team in the park and practice together every Saturday morning. I see the bond that they have brought into the community. When people see me with my family and recognize us, it too shows that they pay attention and notice their neighbors. They care about how my family is and what we are up to. I wouldn't say they're friends, but I wouldn't call them acquaintances either. So what do I call them? Well, I call these people my neighbors, and I call this realm of comfort and happiness my neighborhood.
When I was 11 years old, my family and I had to leave my home country of Iraq because we were in danger. It started out as a normal day. My mom woke me up, made a breakfast, and took me to school. My father went to work as usual. He was a party planner who rented instruments and supplies for parties and birthday parties. It was always fun for me to see him at work because his work brought people happiness and peace. But when my father arrived to work on this day, he found a piece of paper in front of his store that said, "You should quit your job." It was a threat from terrorist group. These people believed that his work was haram or evil. When I got home from school that day, Dad was standing with Mom in the kitchen. When I came in, they stopped talking. Then they told me I would not be able to go back to school because I might get hurt or kidnapped. I felt terrified for my life and for my family. My father decided we should go to Turkey, the closest country to Iraq that had open border to refugees. I did not know if I would be able to go back to school, where I would live, or what life would be like in a new country. During this time in Iraq, there was a lot of violence and unrest. Some of our neighbors were killed, others were kidnapped or threatened. It was important to leave this country to save our life and freedom. We packed our bags and left our house just as is. We did not take any extra belongings because my dad thought we might be able to come back. I left my room full of toys, words, and pictures of me when I was a newborn baby until the age of 11, but I never saw them again.
I was always mad, 24/7. like a never-ending wildfire burning for miles. No matter how many times I tried to douse and smother it with positive vibes, it still sizzled and crackled until it found a way to ignite again. Going to school was my wildfire's main fuel. That was where my fire grew. I made friends who had wildfires too, and made a fool out of myself just to get their acceptance. I was in too many altercations to count, which led me to juvenile detention starting in 6th grade, and expulsion from school in 7th grade. Every time I showed out was a cry for help because I was hurting. But teachers and police saw me as a bad kid who needed to be put away. I eventually figured out ways to slow down the wildfire. Most mornings, I wake up about 5, feeling angry, hungry, and tired. I go to the Tark stop and breathe and chill while I wait for the bus with my music constantly playing in my earbuds. The bus slowly approaches. The doors open and I step on. The bus driver immediately smiles and asks, "How are you doing today?" I return his smile. "I'm doing all right." I proceed to the back and sit down. As we lurch forward, the hum of the vibration of the bus soothes me. I look out the window and think, what if aliens came and stopped the bus? Why is the sky blue? And who told her to wear that? And why am I so angry? All these questions simmer down when I focus on my music. I move my fingers to the rhythm like a pianist. Sometimes I even mouth the words, and I don't care who's watching. I just absorb my surroundings. We go through the downtown area, and I wish this place was within walking distance of my house. I look up at the buildings and pretend I work there. When I have extra time to get off the Tark, I get some Chinese food and walk around 4th Street. I feel free here. I don't have to explain myself, and I don't have to worry about anything.
When I was a little kid in Islamabad, my dad left home to work as a sailor to support our family. The last time I saw him, I found him on the porch of our house, wearing shiny pointy shoes and a soft lined gray handkerchief in his pocket, crying and murmuring to himself. I was scared and asked, "Are you all right?" My dad wiped his face, then held me up high and hugged me. I could see the leftover tears near his brown painted eyes. I asked, "Are you going somewhere?" He looked me in the eyes and said, "Yes, hon." "How can you leave me?" I said. "I need you when I get tired and want to sleep in your arms. I need you to go to parent-teacher conferences with me. I want to let my friends know that my dad is the best and how proud he is of me." He held me close to his chest and said, "Baby, I'm going for you, your mom, your siblings, so you guys can never have to work or miss your studies. Having to think about getting food can distract you from your education." I told him that I could solve this problem and wait there. I slipped out of his hands and went to the closet. I grabbed my piggy bank and handed it to him. "I won't buy anything when I go to market," I said. "I can live on this money, then you don't have to go anywhere." He smiled and said, "How long will that money feed you?" He started putting bills in the piggy bank. I stopped with my hand, took the money, and with the pen from his pocket wrote DAD, Dad, in squiggly handwriting on it. I said, "I will keep this money till the day we meet again, inshallah." I kissed him on the forehead and hugged him tight and let my tears flow like a river as he held me in his arms. I locked the piggy bank in an old suitcase in the closet in my room in Pakistan. and put the key in a framed photo of my family. Those bills might still have the smell of my dad's cologne.
The week before my dad left Cuba without telling us, there was a huge celebration at my grandma's house where the entire family pretended to commemorate my cousin's quinceañera when in reality, they were celebrating my dad's farewell party. All of my family members seemed to be aware of the situation, except for my mom and me. If I would have known about dad's plans, perhaps I could have stopped him from leaving, and my mother would not have experienced so much pain. That day at the party, my mother sat in a corner right by the sink, which my grandma used to wash the clothes every Sunday morning. I saw her from afar, drowning in a cloud of cigarette smoke like she was trying to suffocate her preoccupations. Her rosy hands trembled, like they did every morning when her palms covered the Soviet blender to prevent the banana smoothie from spilling. When she handed me the crystal cup, her hands will still be shivering. Such a maternal instinct, I thought to myself, as she kissed my cheek unexpectedly and embraced me tightly, unleashing all of her tension into my narrow body. Mom remained still as Dad approached us with a declining smile. In retrospect, I could have seen in his dark charcoal eyes the fear of loss, the fear of facing the unknown and leaving his loved ones behind. It takes a whole lot of courage to stand in front of the two people who you love the most and carry out a regular conversation, pretending everything is fine when in reality, you're melting inside. What are two of my favorite people doing here, sitting all by themselves? Dad said sweetly, just talking to Jenny. I could sense from Mom's response that something was not fine. Although she was an introvert, her quietness was a sign of concern. I know my father was dealing with his own demons at the time, moving to a completely different nation, leaving his family behind. But if he would have taken 1 minute of that conversation to tell us what was going on, perhaps my family would not have been separated. I guess I will leave you all to it then, Dad replied, and walked into the crowd, my mom's cigarette smoke circulating behind him.
No, stay right there and take another bow if you wouldn't mind. Can we give another round? And then take another bow once again. I have the totally impossible job that I didn't know I was going to have of trying to follow you all, which is totally impossible because you all are totally extraordinary. And when the extraordinary reveals itself, as you all have done tonight, it leaves those of us on the receiving end, I'll speak for myself, trying my best to speak on behalf of others, it leaves us speechless. It leaves me speechless. So I won't be able to really say what I feel, but I'll try to just do this much and say, please keep going. Please feel totally encouraged. I don't know where that source might be for you, but wherever it is, trust that source and believe in it and know that you're helping us. So if that helps you know that you're helping us to keep going, then maybe that's a good thing from tonight. But no matter what, please know this was an incredible, incredible gift that you have given us tonight. And your example is just beyond belief.
Yes, I said to Sarah that actually you should have ended the evening because there's never an end to what you've given to us as your gift. And I hope that each of us here will figure out how to support you in this journey, to have you grow the interest in what you've done within your fellow students at the Jefferson County Public School System, and that we will all raise up together the extraordinary gift that the Jefferson County School System, and in particular your school, has given to society by allowing you and encouraging you to be the loving, creative, caring human beings that you are. So thanks to all.
Now you're not stuck. You're not a prisoner. I don't mean to imply to tell you. I didn't mean to tell you what to do. I just was, wanting to hang out with you more. But I hope you'll hang out with us. Is that the plan? Okay. So do you all want to? Can you join us for this part of the evening? Do you have somewhere you have to be? Okay. I hope we have seats for you. We have seats for you. Do you know Sarah? Okay. She's going to receive you down these stairs, and then. We got to do one more time. The Louisville Story Program, please. Yeah.